Call this regularly scheduled Mandan Park District Board meeting to order. Today is Monday, August 14th, 2023 at 5:30. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay, none. At this time of the meeting, we will allow public communication from any visitors we have. We have a couple people here, but I think you're going to speak later on an agenda item. Is that correct? Okay, present to us. Seeing nobody else, I'll close that portion of the meeting. Moving on to minutes, if we can get approval of the July 10th, 2023 regular meeting minutes and the July 17th, 2023 retreat minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 10th, 2023 minutes and the July 17th, 2023 retreat minutes.
Motion by Commissioner Freilich.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. All right, on to our agenda. Item number 1, Andrew Stromey, City Planner updates on the placemaking grant. Glad you're here tonight, Andrew.
Thank you, Wade. Nice to see you all again, Commissioners. I believe the last time I was here would have been in March of this year, which really puts things into perspective because I was thinking it was a little bit sooner than then. I don't have a lot to update y'all on. I could go for a while, but I'll try and keep it short, I guess. We'll keep it put that way. So the project we're really getting close to the completion on this one. I have the web page loaded up here, or this is an open house that's for the project. I have the web page as well, but to this date, we've had a number of public input opportunities for this project, of course, which is to come up with some market-supported, community-backed ideas for what to do with the high school site of which the Park District has some interest in facilities there, of course. So that's why I'm here today, to give you a quick update. But I think it would be fair to say we've had a few hundred folks engaged with the project, which we're really happy to see interest and buy-in on this. I think folks have been able to attend pop-ups at Art in the Park or dedicated open houses, take surveys. So there's a number of ways that folks have gotten involved. I'll kind of skim over some of the main things, but as a high-level schedule, I wish I could move this pin a little bit to the right because we're getting into phase 4. We're pretty much halfway through that, and it's kind of hard to read in the yellow up there, but we're in the implementation matrix stage right now. So this is what are some resources that could be put forward to make this a reality, and what are some timelines that the party should be cognizant of as the school district gets ready to move out of that facility and consider what goes there afterwards. So I expect that we should be wrapped up with a final report to this board, school board, and parks sometime in September, if not early October. So you'll see Wendy, the project manager, and I one more time on this, at least. These next few slides really just kind of highlight some of the plans that have contributed to this project, and I want to spend the most time just on the renderings that have been kind of put together. So we're kind of getting into data. Basically, what the data shows is that there's strong growth potential in Mandan. There is a gap in the amount of multifamily housing that's required, but also located in this area, the high school area that is. So that could be inferred to mean that development angle should include some multifamily housing, which would be either mixed use with retail, office, another commercial space on the main floor, or kind of typical multifamily. This slide is meant to show that there is room for folks to work and live in Mandan based on how folks are currently working and living in the metro area, and that there's a strong gap that was identified between the amount of retail supply between both of the communities, which would indicate maybe if we did some mixed-use development where folks live and fill the market gap for housing, but also address the market disparity for commercial, might be a strong thing to do with this property. We've had really positive feedback from developers regarding this site. We're in a pretty good, it's honestly a pretty good time to start some larger projects. There's still funding in multifamily. It's not the same with single family, of course, that's kind of slowed down, but it's a strong economy right now as it relates to multifamily housing, and there are a lot of resources that can be employed to make this a pretty lucrative development opportunity for someone if the city and all the folks that takes to see that through are on board for that. So these kind of highlight the market conclusions. Developers like the size. I'll zoom in a little bit. I always forget how small that screen is. They like the size. They like the integration it has with the city and the community around it. It's close enough to downtown and the interstate. It can develop west from here, of course. Great views to market and traffic counts that are approaching 10 to 15,000 a day on Sunset. We don't see that going down either. These additionally just support kind of what we're working on here. The economy in our area is relatively healthy. Employment is growing, as is population. We have relatively low housing and commercial vacancies, so that would mean that if you built more, they would fill up. Housing prices have been rising rapidly. I think we all know that. And some of the strongest market types with either senior housing or young families are at a really local level needed. So within blocks of this site, for example. So I just wanted to give you some background on that. This kind of concludes it for the background on the project. I'll kind of skim over the community survey results, but primarily with the 150 surveys that we received, this is how it breaks down. So over 55% of these folks are Mandan and Morton County that are supportive of the location and want us to be courageous and what we shoot for on the site. Specifically, let's not plan for 2 to 3 years from now, but let's look at the future and plan ahead for what could happen for the city. And I'll just scroll up to kind of see what they want to see more of. Of course, you're familiar at the Park Board of seeing this stuff: green space, performance space, cultural space, but also custom, unique businesses, public art, things that capture the spirit of Mandan High School and the surrounding area. There's a lot that could be done on the property. Is what to kind of take away from there. From a actual developer standpoint, what a private developer would come in and build, there's support for all sorts of residential, for perhaps commercial and mixed use, as I had mentioned earlier, and that would be kind of the market-supported land use type. But then there's also the life that kind of takes place between the buildings on this property, where a public entity may take a leading role, or maybe some dedicated property, for example, for something like a public park, green space, plaza space, which are all relatively just open space types. But the most important improvement on the site that folks see is improved trails, parks, and green space. I'm sure that's not a surprise to anybody. That's something that folks always want to see, but also retail options, improved transportation and parking, which is something that could definitely be done looking at the site in a modern lens. More housing, support for small businesses and entrepreneurs, and public spaces and facilities. Just to kind of give you a flavor on how we got some public input, this would be, I think this was from the Touch a Truck event, and you can just see we handed out dots for folks to vote on what they wanted to see. It's kind of small, but I'll zoom in on this small area. You can see how folks voted for something like an apartment complex as opposed to a daycare or a mixed-use development, right? And all the public input was aggregated to date, so all the different touch points that we've had have kind of been tallied up and further programmed throughout the study. So from a kind of high-level community-wide quick hit, what they want to see on the site, we also had a more of a deeper dive workshop that was 2 hours of folks' time to kind of say, okay, if we did streetlights, what should they look like, and what kind of design strategy should we hit? So this is how folks voted on that. And we're getting really close to the renderings here, so maybe I'll touch that now. So what it all kind of ends up as is 3 concepts that we've recently sort of boiled down to one. The 3 concepts are kind of based in a community design charrette or exercise that was done back in June, and then later refined by the consultant. And each of these show how different market-supported development types fit on the site. with public-supported amenities in between them. So some of the amenities that are shown are kind of crudely labeled here, like a splash pad, for example, or corner plazas by some of the retail spaces. What has been supported throughout these would be folks really want to see that kind of higher density node of energy on Sunset, where maybe there's a restaurant or a bar that someone could go to after an event at one of the public facilities, or live above, for example, or some office space. So folks want to see some sort of commercial activity on this site, but they do seem to be supportive of the residential buffer that's shown on the south end here. That kind of shows up across the project area, or sorry, across all three alternatives of the project area. These are not meant to be viewed as it's all going to be built at once thing, of course. So you can kind of imagine how different markets and different timelines will kind of build the site and inform how that's developed out. But we'd likely see it kind of start here and work its way west from there. Again, there's a concept B, which would have that trail system kind of going through the site, and a concept C with kind of just different layouts of the different market supported land uses on the property here. Since these have been publicized, we've had a steering committee meeting where these were kind of boiled down into one final layout, and that's not meant to be the end all be all for how this is laid out, but it is sort of to create a resource that the city and the school district and the parks, to the extent that they're involved, can leverage for marketing the site. So it will be rendered with shiny colors and trees and people to make it look like something that we could maybe sell to a development entity or a number of developers. So that one final layout, I think, will take a form kind of similar to concepts A and B in a sense, where it has kind of the block system with transitional development types recommended, but with perhaps a more enhanced trail connection from the core communities up to the current trailhead to Sunset Park. So that's just kind of a teaser on where that's going. I think we'll have a few more weeks to sort of revise some things before the final plan is put together, but kind of in closing, the market's looking pretty strong. There's interest in doing this type of project, and we have quite a bit of time to market it and get some folks lined up, get some resources lined up, so that when the community's ready to move on from the high school that's there today, we're ready to accept what folks want to put there in the future. That's really all I have for you tonight. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions for Andrew?
Andrew, I really appreciate all the work you guys did on this. I got one real quick question. Is I know there's going to be a lot of roads in there, and I know you guys didn't really talk about money, and this is years down the road, but I'm kind of worried about the specials down there for the Parks and Rec and for other neighborhoods. Is there a creative way of how to do this without breaking everybody's bank a little bit?
Yeah, Chair Meskey, Commissioner Mutter, what I think we're going to be figuring out through the implementation procedure is, or through those steps, is the way that kind of lightens the load for the public entities, and attempts to leverage the market strengths to place a little bit more responsibility on the developer. We see it as a strong site, and we don't see it as something that needs to be subsidized entirely. There are some tools that we can employ that create a lucrative development environment, but still place responsibility on the developer for public improvements. So some of the things that could be entertained would be recent legislation, for example, permits us to create a Renaissance zone for this property, which would be a 5-year property tax exemption. If you took a downtown Mandan recent multifamily project, that's essentially $500,000 in tax liability that's removed from a developer that can sweeten a deal. But there's also opportunities to explore extending that incentive further, and others that can be leveraged from the state, of course, tax credits that developers can go for. So those are all things that are going to be recommended to us, and it's good feedback to know that the board is interested in kind of guarding and maintaining its protection there.
Thank you.
Yep.
When I think, Andrew, looking at those concepts, there are cheaper infrastructure costs maybe as the roads develop on the south end of that. Is that correct? I know we've talked about developing that land for a long time, and it seems like the infrastructure and the roads, curb and gutter is so much more expensive on that north end. So these are different options to lower that cost. Is that kind of the aim?
Yeah, Chair Meshke, and it's important to just remind that if this were cited in many other parts of the community, the developer would be expected to extend considerable amounts of infrastructure to be able to see this through. And while there are infrastructure needs on this site, we think they're going to be significantly less than a greenfield development on the edge of town, because they'll be able to leverage existing roads. I think Sunset was done in 2009, for example. So there's a lot of strengths from that sense where we can start where things are good and maybe build some value and get to a point where things are worth doing in the future where they're needed.
Anything else for Andrew? Okay.
Wonderful. Well, we will be back probably in September or sometime around then to close this up and get your final thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, consider for approval additional improvements for Rodeo Arena.
President Meskey and Commissioners, we have officially wrapped up the construction project. Before you tonight, though, are some change orders that we'd like to add. As we knew when we constructed the rodeo arena that we didn't want to put all the concrete in and make some improvements. We kind of wanted to see how the rodeo took place. We had over 12,000 people come in those 3.5, almost 4 days that we had events out there, so it was a very successful event. The rodeo committee will be here next month to present kind of their findings. They're collecting all their revenues and all their expenses to kind of give an update to the board exactly how that went from operations. But from a facility standpoint, as you see in your packet, there's 2 things on the agenda tonight. One is to approve some change orders to add additional concrete and to make some improvements to the crow's nest. The bids in your packet, there is a slight change to Carsey Construction. PRCA requested that we enclose the west side of the crow's nest for the timers and have better visual opportunities for them as far as their timing events. That number has gone from 9,500 to 11,328. Western Edge, as you can see, adding electrical panel number 2. We have 1 panel there. They'd like to add additional electrical panel for additional food trucks. Weld new brackets and hooks for the video board for the sound system. That was put in. Again, that was donated from Paulke Steel. We temporarily had to adjust the video board to kind of connect that. Now this is making it right so that it would be simpler installation as far as when we go next year. Northwest Contracting, a lot of concrete is being added for a couple reasons. Obviously ADA, obviously some rain that came off the back side of both grandstands when we had all the rain during that event. We didn't have enough concrete, so we had a lot of mud areas that were getting splashed onto it and drainage, and then just where the people traffic and they hang out. So in your packet, I'm going to show you kind of a shaded area here, what I'm referring to. It's not coming through on the projector, but in your package you can kind of see the green areas. Those are the shaded areas of the new additional concrete that we'd like to add. And then the red shaded areas where the new food trucks will go. And with those food trucks, again, that's where the panel.
Oh, that's not showing up.
Yeah, for some reason in the back room they're not able to pull up the
Okay.
map. So in your packet there's the
Oh.
aerial of the site plan, which has the green shaded areas and the red shaded areas.
Yep.
Those are the areas where the green or the concrete will be added. So the total costs for the concrete and the enclosement of Karski from the west side of the crow's nest is $113,654. In your packet, it's at $111,826, but like I said, we got a revised quote for that today. The second component is kind of a positive thing too, is that this committee has done such an excellent job in fundraising that we have an additional $1 million that we're able to put down on the principal if approved here tonight. So in your packet, there's kind of a cash flow projections that Terry put together. Again, I would put it on the projector, but unfortunately it's not working here tonight. With that, it shows that we did take a loan out for $2 million. We've spent almost 1.9 in construction costs and other miscellaneous expenses associated with the rodeo. At the end of the day, when it's all paid off, we made our first principal and interest payment of $321 and some change. We have about $1,019,000 that's projected at the end of this fiscal year. We do have some pledges that we're still going to collect between now and the end of the year, but our recommendation, based on the committee that we had meeting last week, would be to put $1 million on the principal of the debt. So in essence, that would leave us roughly with an outstanding debt of about $678,000. We have pledges coming in between now and even 9 years from now. So there's plenty of pledge dollars that will be able to handle phase 2, which I will touch on momentarily, but mostly next month. So recapping, we need approval for the change orders in the amount of $113,654, and that's all those items I mentioned earlier. And then to put $1 million down on the debt of the rodeo arena, which again will leave us with about $678,000. The loan originally was for 7 years. We should have it paid off in about 3 years. I'll pause for any questions you may have.
Well, first off, again, kudos to the rodeo committee and everybody this was a big undertaking, a lot of community support, and they want to make things right. Commissioner Mutter, you sit on that committee, and I think we tabled this from our retreat to get input from them on we want to pay this off before we get too far into phase 2. Can you give us some input on that, please?
Yeah, before I go any further, Cole, what was the savings again on that? It was $150,000?
That is correct. $150,000 interest savings by
interest.
paying this extra $1 million down. And I wanted to add, the total collections, if we were to go through the full term of 10-year pledges, is going to generate about $4.1 million. So even with putting an extra $1 million down and what we've already paid, we'll have roughly I forgot the number. A little over $600,000 is what we'll have for phase 2 in cash.
Okay.
One of the cool things about the meeting was that even being there, they've changed a couple things in which they're going to add another $50,000, if I remember right, another $50,000 onto what they already have. So we're looking at another $50,000 onto what he said. So that's a really cool thing. The cement is needed, and I agree with what they said. The food trucks, they want to keep going, and they would like to expand that, and I'll agree with that also. The phase 2, I'd like to. I know they want to do it right away and get that going. I would love to slow them down a little bit and making sure that they know what they want and know what we need and what we want. And so my recommendation is we should do this, period, because I think the rodeo has done a very great job on getting money. And the surprising note is, and Dale Palke was at that meeting, was he said he agreed to put the $1 million down to shoring that loan up, and I really appreciate that comment from him. So I guess I'm going to make the questions. I should have said that.
Yeah. Well, and I guess we want their support too, and it puts us in a better position down the road to be able to do that. So good to hear.
It's just another example, I guess, of great community members out there willing to put forth some funds to help us have great facilities in Mandan for our park district.
Yeah.
All right. So, Commissioner Mutter, did you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve spending $113,654 for improvements for the rodeo arena as presented, and spending $1 million of 2023 rodeo pledge collection to be used for a buy down in principal on the loan.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mutter, second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Okay, Commissioner Scott,
Aye.
Commissioner Freilich,
Aye.
Commissioner Mutter.
Aye.
Aye from me as well. Motion carries. Was it 111,000?
No, originally, we had to increase it to
So it's
113.
113.
Yep.
Okay.
And then just to add, President Meshkin, Commissioners, as I mentioned, next month we will have Jason Middlestiff and Roto Committee. We do have a meeting next week with the Dakota Centennial Park Advisory Board meeting to kind of just pull everybody together, recap how this season went like we do annually. But in your packets, I did include some of the recommendations that they're looking for Phase 2, which includes potential restrooms, potential bleachers on the south end, just on the north side of the pavilion, and then obviously a VIP platform / suites that they'd like over the bucking chute. So again, a lot of ideas and thoughts. In your packet, though, I did not include would be an agreement with ICON. That is what the rodeo committee would like to bring before you next month, is approval to add on our agreement with ICON and start the construction documents, and would like to bid these projects moving forward. The question on our side would be is where we're at with the funding that we just approved here tonight, how much additional fundraising, how do we, what triggers Phase 2 to kick off besides doing the construction document? So that's some of the questions that we have to dig into here a little bit too, and we'll also get the report on how the rodeo went from Jason and the group.
And my guess is they would look to next spring to start Phase 2 if they could?
I think if everything lined up correctly, they would
Yep.
like to get the VIP suites done. That's their priority at the meeting. And then obviously restrooms is a discussion that we have to have holistically with everybody in that facility, meaning stock car, how can we help out even soccer potentially in there, with the youth fields being on that southeast corner. But we need to look at it just to see how we're going to spend these dollars so that it benefits multiple groups that are out there at this time.
So to bid that out, we would look probably January-ish?
Yeah, I think we just need to get the
Best
designs
case.
done and get some refined cost estimates, and then get a pledge drive, because again, there's going to be roughly 600 and some thousand, maybe slightly 700,000 there. Well, that's not going to meet all the demands, so we need to
Yeah.
figure out how phases are going to be handled if they're not completed.
Okay.
Because I want to protect the Park District's best interest, so that we're not stuck with having to build something down the road that we have no fundraising for.
Okay, moving on to item 3, consider for approval boat ramp scope of services and timeline discussion.
President Meschke and Commissioners, I'm happy to say that we are in the preliminary stage of potentially getting a public boat ramp for the city of Mandan. I've been director since 2001, and this has been on our plate for many years. We got DOT to give us approval. We're waiting on some covenant changes that I will send to Attorney Ruff once we receive them. Basically, the land at car bodies that I'm referring to, again, I'd use the map, but unfortunately the projector's not working here tonight. That area is referred to as car bodies just to the east of our archery range. We have the ability as a park district to own that land as today, so there's no landowners involved. We are working with A2S, and that's why Jesse Kiss is here tonight to ask any questions as far as technicality associated with it. But I went before County Commission, received their vote of approval for their $267,000, went to the Visitors Fund last week for their $267,000, got approval on that. We have a City Commission meeting tomorrow night to get the final approval for the $267,000, and then we, as the Park District, agreed at July 17th to verbally commit $267,000 from our general fund, but we will need a motion for that here tonight, just as a formality, where those funds will be taken from. As far as the boat ramp itself, there's a lot of things that got to come into play before this to happen. And the first step, obviously, is public hearings. We understand that there's citizens down there that might be for or against this. That's why we are the government entity, that we will give it ample opportunity to express your concerns. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves in regards to when that public hearing will happen. But we do have all the parcels, basically east of Mandan Avenue from Culver's all the way north. Andrew Stromey from the city gave me all the parcels. We have all their mailing addresses. We will send a letter once we have a date set. And with that date then comes the application process. As you're well aware, with Phase 2 of our irrigation project down at the baseball complex, it's been over 12 months since we've got that permit from the Corps. We're not sure how long this permit will take. I will let Jesse kind of explain that here in a moment. But we will have that process of the 408 and the Section 10 and 404 permitting that will take place. We're on the Sovereign's land, so as I mentioned, the project that we're looking at is about a $1.6 million project. We've secured $800,000 from the state of North Dakota with the help of Representative Porter. I do have to apply through the grant for these dollars and match them dollar for dollar. So we will have $800,000 matched with the 3 entities that I mentioned, and then we'll have $800,000 from the grant funding associated from the state to kind of kick this off. So with that,
Is that competitive at all, or are we, is it?
the dollars were strictly restricted for the Mandan Park District.
Okay.
So we do have to apply through the grant, but it is restricted for us. So yes, we are applying for it, but it's restricted for the Park District.
Okay.
Cole, how many years do we have this? If it takes 10 years, can we still have the 800,000?
In 10 years, I won't be here. No, I'm just kidding. I think realistically, these dollars are usually set up for their biennium of 2 years, so we just need to start the process. We can always ask for extensions, but as long as we're in the process, they understand that the Corps of Engineers, it does take time to get these approvals, but as long as we're in the process and we're getting the construction documents done and ready to go for RFPs, we will be at that point, we'll be fine. So with that, I mean, I wish the projector was working. Unfortunately, I can't show you the design, but in your packet, kind of just gave you a quick summary of what A2S would do from start to finish as far as the administration of the facility. The parking lot itself, again, I think it has like 42 parking stalls that fit the needs associated with what it would be for a typical truck and trailer. Again, there's a lot of amenities that we'd like to include in there. As you know, the project's at 1.6. If construction costs are feasible, we obviously will add in all the other amenities such as decorative signings, kayak launch, fish cleaning station, vault toilets, and there's been discussions about shelters and things about there. Just some amenities to kind of improve that, but those things can be phased in. The first step is to get the permit, 2, to get the boat ramp in, and then realistically, we're probably looking at 2025 if everything lines up perfect before a boat ramp would be operable. So with that, if you have any technical questions, I have Jesse Kiss here to answer those questions you may have.
Cole, I got a question real quick here. Do we know how many hours Dustin's going to need for that boat ramp for a whole year?
I would say it's gonna be like a basic park cleaning. It all depends on usage, and what amenities go in. Fish cleaning station. I'd probably have to talk to Tim Nilsson with Morton County to see what's all entailed with a fish cleaning station. I know there's winterizing and startup, no different than any of our other properties that are not 12-month properties. So there's gonna be more time, or there'll be time that we need to stick into it. Just depends on what the amenities we have there. If it's just a boat ramp and a shelter, well, it'll be less than if we have a shelter, a restroom, a fish cleaning station, a boat ramp. So.
Cole, my other question is, and I got this from you from the rodeo meeting, is do we need to start putting money away for future problems or anything? I mean, right now I know we're just in the beginning part, but are we thinking about the future out there too? Because I hate to see we set this up and then in 10 years or 20 years we have to start fixing things,
Yeah, so typically our strategic plan is always going out 3 to 5 years. So if there are improvements that need to be made, like replacement of a dock or things of that nature, there are going to be other grant opportunities for that. We'll build that into that strategic plan, and it'll build into our capital improvement. I really see this being, right now today, we have maintenance staff who go down there and check the garbages and drive through the area and check it out. So that's going to be the same kind of routine. This parking lot's not going to have a paved asphalt parking lot at this time, so very minimal as far as replacement of asphalt, striping, and things of that nature. So the grid system that we're looking at kind of ties into those covenants, so that will help, from a maintenance cost standpoint. In the future, will we have to add an asphalt parking lot? Potentially. Replacement of the concrete as far as the ramp and dock and kayak. I think all those things are minimal costs. I look at this as it's not a fee-generated facility. It's more like a neighborhood park where we're providing a service to the community to use it, and hopefully that they will appreciate it and take care of it, which I think they will.
Well, and I think just to piggyback that, hopefully we can go back to some of these other entities, the county, for some, the funds that help get this going. If there was something major, if we wanted to expand it, I would hope, they're supportive of it now, I would hope that something major, we could partner with that too. So, any questions for Cole or Jesse? All right, well, exciting. I know a lot of people are asking about it for a lot of years, and a lot of people are talking about it. Is there a fee for the Corps? I know is there a fee to a application fee that we're dealing with right now? There isn't. Okay, so there isn't that upfront cost. Okay. Okay.
So before you, we need a motion to approve the scope of services with A2S and amending the $267,000 contribution to the boat ramp from the general fund.
I'll make a motion to approve the scope of services with AE2S and amending $267,000 from the general fund for the boat ramp.
Motion by Commissioner Freilich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? Okay, Commissioner Scott,
Aye.
Commissioner Freilich,
Aye.
Commissioner Mutter.
Aye.
Aye from me as well. Motion carries. On to item number 4, Rough Rider Park planning and public hearing on park improvements for 2024.
Again, President Meskey and Commissioners, I apologize. The projector is not working, so it's kind of difficult to show the map of Rough Rider Park. For those that are watching online, it's way northwest of Mandan. Take Old Red Trail as far west as you can get and take a right on, not even sure of that road, but it's northwest of town. We have, as you see in your map, two parcels that we own out there. One is in a cul-de-sac that really doesn't have any amenities on there. And as I mentioned in my board report, maintenance staff go out there periodically to check it, mow it as needed with the weather. It's not irrigated. We did try to remove this parcel back in the mid-2000s, and we sent letters to the citizens. And at that time, the cost to maintain it was very minimal, so the board chose to keep it, and it has not changed since then. The other parcel that you see is the neighborhood park that we have out there. In the 2024 budget, Dustin has requested $100,000 to improve that area, which is definitely a nice amenity to that. As I stated, $100,000 doesn't go a long ways in there, but I think it'd be good to get public input, as we're probably looking at trying to reduce the tennis court into a smaller footprint, and then listen to some other ideas that they may have that we maybe can do some amenities. So the question before you is, I think we're supportive of the project. It's been approved as our preliminary budget for 2024, the $100,000 for that park. Do we want them to come to the park board meeting for discussion, or we'd like to be on site? Obviously, when you're on site closer to their adjacent properties, you'll probably get a better attendance, but severe weather and things of that nature potentially could happen. In my packet, I stated potential dates could be September 19th, 21st, or the 26th, if we wanted to have it that soon. That then allows us to have the input. Dustin then can hear that information from the standpoint of what the citizens are looking for, very similar to what we did at H.A. Kautzman. And then he has the ability over the winter months to order that equipment, because there are some long lead times, and start planning accordingly what would happen out there.
There's no shelters out there, correct? Big enough to host them.
Yeah, it would be,
There's a little picnic table with a shelter over top of it. Yeah.
we'd probably have to host it inside the tennis court and put some tables up there, and we have some portable speakers if we were out there.
Canopy. Maybe we schedule one, and if the weather is bad, we look at a later date.
Was there a date that did not work for the commissioners that I listed?
All mine look good.
Okay.
6 o'clock, you said?
Yeah, I was just thinking sometime in the evening that get everybody home from work and have a chance.
Okay.
And again, we have all the parcels, so I will send the letter out. I'll probably pick a date of those three, 19, 21, or 26. Again, not all commissioners need to attend, but you're greatly welcome. It falls under Commissioner Mutter's portfolio to attend.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Item number 5, update on Memorial Ballpark lighting project.
Well, the good thing, Commissioner, we don't have much going on this month. Well, we got good news. We actually applied, as you remember last month, that we applied, or back in June, excuse me, applied for the Park Systems Grant. Very similar to what we received at Raging Rivers for that improvement. Exact same process. We were awarded $320,000 to replace the Memorial Ballpark lights. As you remember, the Mandan Baseball Club said they would match that share or any dollars above that. Obviously, with costs and inflation that's taken place, the estimates that we received then versus when the project will be completed potentially could be slightly higher. So we did talk with Damien last week. Baseball Club is full support of this and excited about getting this project started. So in your packet is approval to hire Prairie Engineering in the amount of $7,500 to manage, design, construct, and bid the project. So we have our electrical engineer to make sure that we are meeting the right requirements to fulfill this. Again, just to recap, there are 6 foul territory poles that will be replaced. There's 8 total, but 2 of them were replaced back in 2005, 2010, somewhere in that range, when we did the first remodel of the grandstand. So those are metal poles. We were replacing 6 wood poles, but 8 LED fixtures will be replaced throughout the entire complex, which includes new wiring and new transformers. And if you remember this spring, we had a transformer go out. We were hard to find replacement parts because the transformers are so old. So this timing of this project is definitely beneficial to us, and I recommend approval to approve as presented.
Cole, will the lights be the same as far as color?
That's a good question. I would guess that would be something we can talk about as far as, I'm sure our electrical engineer will be able to give us different options, but going to LED is going to make a tremendous difference, and we'll be able to angle them at an area where we're not losing so much, as they call it, noise pollution, where we do lose a lot of light right now. So hopefully the adjacent residents will be happy too.
Us photographers would like the same light, that's all I'm just.
I thought you were going to ask about the lighting the poles, because there's that option that you can do for home runs or whatever. You can flash the lights and make it, there is those options.
All right, what are the board's wishes?
I would move to approve the advertising of bids for Memorial Ballpark lighting and hiring Prairie Engineering in the amount of $7,500 to design, construction, and bidding.
Motion by Commissioner Scott,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? Sorry. All right, Commissioner Scott,
Aye.
Commissioner Freilich,
Aye.
Commissioner Mutter.
Aye.
Aye from me as well. Motion carries. And then on to item number 6, presentation of the 2024 budget. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you. Good evening, President Meshke and Commissioners.
You don't need to apologize. Cole apologized quite a bit, but the preliminary budget will be on our website, or is it on there now for people?
No, it will
Okay.
be tomorrow.
Okay, since we can't put it up on the screens today.
She actually has a PDF on a thumb drive, so she'll be able to put it on the computer, so she'll be able to show it online. It's just the
Never mind.
projector wasn't
The
working.
project, gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so how do I get it to just do that? Without my notes on the screen. Where's the lecture? You can remove my notes from here too, I guess. Reading view on this. Okay. That looks good. Hopefully this will work. So thank you again, President Meshke and Commissioners. The 2024 preliminary budget I'm presenting tonight was approved at your budget retreat on July 17th of 2023. And in the recap, as you'll see on the screen for the 2024 budget, in the general fund, we have $6.3 million in revenue and in expenses. And as far as revenue goes within the general fund, fees and charges account for 47% of that revenue. Property taxes are 42% of the revenue. State aid is 9%, and donations and other are 3%. And then just real quick, the other funds are Park Sheriff Special Assessment Fund. We are seeing an increase in costs in this fund due to several new assessments being added to Park District property. In the General Obligation Bond Fund, this is the fund where we pay the debt for our previous existing district-wide specials that were refinanced through a GO bond. And that was primarily, the south side improvements. And then the Capital Improvement Fund is a variety of projects and bigger ticket items that were requested by our department managers, and I will be providing a listing of those in another slide. Then when you look at the Raging Rivers Fund and the Refunding Improvement Bonds of 2021 Fund, these are both for Raging Rivers. It's recording the operations of the facility and the debt payment. And then a new fund now, we have the Park Facilities Revenue Bonds of 2023. And that's the fund where we pay the debt on our new park maintenance facility that's currently under construction. And then the construction fund is where we track project expenses in the construction phase, as well as pledges and donations used towards the projects. And then finally is our vision fund, where we are setting aside funding specifically earmarked for long-term repairs and replacements on our facilities, as well as funding for development of new parks and facilities. So you'll see the total revenue in all funds is just under $9.2 million, and total expenditures is just over $8.8 million. Full-time salaries and benefits in the 2024 budget come to a total of $2,441,400. This includes 3 new full-time positions, One is in park operations, one is a shared maintenance position between the All Seasons Arena and Parks, and one is an accounting position that we're bringing back to full-time. It was a full-time position until 2020 when we had cut it back to part-time. But with the increase in projects and construction going on, we have had more need for accounting assistance. Also in the budget is a 3% cost of living adjustment, as well as an additional 2% merit adjustment for eligible employees for a total of 5%. For health insurance coverage, we had switched in 2022 from a North Dakota PERS plan to a high deductible health plan with North Dakota Fit. We also offer health savings accounts to our employees, and this continues to result in significant cost savings to the district due to the high deductible health plan and our low loss ratio. For 2024, our premium rates are increasing by 4.77%. My next slide is the list of the 2024 capital outlay as requested by our various department managers. And you'll see the total in capital outlay is $621,400. I will have these slides available on our website tomorrow if you would like to review the specifics in greater detail. My next schedule is a list of all of the 2024 debt service payments in our budget and special assessments. And I just want to highlight on here the one on the top, the rodeo arena debt is completely funded through pledges and donations. And the second one, the Mandan Tennis Center debt, that one is completely funded by a lease with the LLC organization that is managing the operations there. And then one more I'll point out here on the list is the Raging Rivers facility. That one we fund through facility fees there, and we will have our final debt payment on that facility in 2025. Looking at our property tax levy, the 2024 property tax levy consists of, in the general fund, $2,665,767. The special assessments fund, $320,868. The GO bond fund, $112,875. And the capital improvement fund, $641,735, for a total of $3,741,245, and this exceeds the 2023 levy by $373,516. The excess is due entirely to the taxable valuation increase within Mandan, which resulted in an increase in the mill levy, or the mill value, I should say. So our previous mill value was $115,516, and the estimated mill value for the 2024 budget is $128,347. So because of this increase, we did not have to raise mills. However, because of the significant increase in special assessments, we needed to increase in the special assessment fund by about a mill. And then in order to keep our total mills steady, we had to decrease the general fund by almost a mill. So this brings our general fund mills down to 20.77, which is historically the lowest that I've seen in the general fund. At least I was able to go back 12 years, and I've never seen it below 21 mills in the general fund. So that's a good thing there. But again, overall, we have kept the mill value steady at 29.15. When you look at all the taxing entities, the state, county, city, schools, and parks, the park district currently accounts for 10% of the entire levy. So for every dollar in property taxes collected, 10 cents goes to the park district. The impact to the taxpayer. So for an average home price in Mandan, right now it's around $275,000. If there was no valuation placed on that home, that individual property owner would not see an increase in their property taxes for the park district's share. However, the average home in Mandan did receive approximately a 9.4% was the average increase in valuation. So this example shows a property that was previously valued at $275,000. Now an increase of 9.4% in valuation would put it at $300,850. Therefore, this taxpayer will see an increase in park property taxes of approximately $34 a year. Again, this is due to the valuation increase, not the park district raising mills. Looking at the budget calendar, by August 31st, the Morton County Treasurer will provide a written notice to the owners of each parcel of taxable property with their total estimated property tax, and will also provide the hearing dates for the public hearings for the various taxing entities. The Park District will conduct our 2024 budget hearing on September 11th at 5:30 p.m. here at Mandan City Hall. So this concludes my presentation on the 2024 budget. All of this information will be posted on our website tomorrow. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Any questions for Terry? Our public hearing will be at our next regular schedule. Okay. All right. Thank you. I know the board kind of put with all our projects and building a new shop. We kind of put it to you guys and said we want to stay mill neutral, even though that valuation did increase. And you guys did what we asked you to do, and we appreciate that. Taxpayers appreciate that. I know for some people taxes will go up. It was a kind of a bigger hit for a lot of people this year. So thank you for making the adjustments to our budget and the cuts that needed to be done to make sure all that happened. So thank you. Item number 7, Commissioner and staff reports. Anything
Commissioner,
else,
just
Wolf?
to add, Raging Rivers, Dave's not here tonight, but Raging Rivers does close on Sunday, so we're 12 to 5 the rest of this week. It's been a good season, been some weird weather here in June, late June, early July, where a lot of weather was impacting us, but overall, we've been able to overcome not just the water park, but all of our facilities with Dustin and golf. I mean, staffing's just been difficult for everybody, and we've been able to overcome it and got through it. And as soon as school starts, we can take a deep breath, but we've been creative in ways to be able to provide our services. So I just want to say thanks to all the staff, 'cause it's not easy what they've been going through this year with staffing. As we mentioned, I know we talked before the meeting, but Kelly Thomas was nominated for the 20 people under 40 for the Chamber of Commerce, so that's a good kudos to her. And then overall, I think just in general, this year has been interesting. Obviously, April was a snowstorm behind about 4 weeks. But as you see all our facilities and our revenue numbers, it just amazes me every year what our staff does and what we're able to accomplish in about 90 days. So summer is officially somewhat over on paper, but in our minds, we still got about 2 more weeks before school starts, and then we're ready to roll as far as after Labor Day, things kind of change gears. We start moving forward. So thank you.
Okay, cool. Terry?
I don't have anything.
Dustin?
Nothing.
Attorney Ruff? Commissioner Mutter?
I got a question for Dustin, and since I haven't seen him a whole month because I've been busy myself, how's the new maintenance shop coming?
Slow. But like the contractor said, he's had about 14 inches of rain since they've dug the hole for the foundation. We've had 14 inches of rain, and we're seeing it everywhere. I mean, not just the maintenance shop. We're seeing it on our ball fields. We had a state softball tournament this weekend. Saturday was a beautiful day. We got rain Sunday night into Sunday morning, and they just can't take any more water. We had gotten 3 diamonds ready and got a pretty good shot of rain. They washed out, and luckily we were able to make accommodations and move them to the turf baseball field, and they were able to finish the tournament out. So it worked out good. But yeah, it's plenty wet. We put fertilizer down, hit it right time, and we're mowing grass like crazy. It's beautiful green, but we're having to go in and vac fields off, vac the grass because we have so much grass. And I guess that's a good problem to have right now when we're able to shut down the sprinklers and use the moisture from Mother Nature to supplement the water.
Okay, Commissioner Freilich?
I've got nothing.
Commissioner Scott?
Just a big thanks to the managers and staff out at Prairie West and at Mandan Muni. Both courses are still in great shape, so get out and get your last couple of months of golf in.
And Cole, you stole mine, but congratulations, Kelly, with her recognition, and congrats. All right, authorization, item number 8, authorization to pay our monthly bills. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize payment of the monthly bills.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Freilich,
Second?
second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Future meetings for Park Board Commissioners, just one meeting, and that'll be September 11th, our next regularly scheduled Park Board meeting. We will also have a public hearing and final reading of our 2024 budget right here at City Hall at 5:30. And can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Mutter.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.